Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. Welcome to Family First Wednesdays, presented by Montana's Peer Network. This month's topic is about doing the holidays differently. So there's 5 of us that are going to just give some tips or our experiences of what the holidays have looked like for us and our families. And before I get started, I wanted to share with you guys, we have a new Lifeline notebook, which is available on Montana's Peer Network's website. And basically, it's a notebook designed for parents with children with special health care needs that where we can kind of keep all of our information in one spot. So it has things like appointments, upcoming appointments, current information, what questions you want to make sure you remember to ask the provider. Then there's also a self-care for us halfway through too. So it's really neat if you guys want to check that out. So for the holidays, for us with children with behavioral health or special health care needs, the holidays look a little bit different. And we really wanted to kind of talk about that as we come up on the holidays. So we're going to get started with Jobina McCarthy is going to start us off, and we're each just going to share for about 5 minutes or so, and then hopefully we can have a good discussion afterwards. So thank you.
Thank you, Beth. I'm Jobina or Joby. Either name is fine with me. Jobina McCarthy. My pronouns are she, her, hers. And I'm a mom of 2 micro preemies. My first, an angel, and my second is a rainbow baby, now a teenager. My lived experience recently is raising that teenager, and we've had a journey of mental health challenges as well as outpatient hospitalization. I'm a family navigator at the Rural Institute for Inclusive Communities with Montana Family to Family. And I want to welcome you to this chat as we talk about navigating the holidays as parents and caregivers of children with special health care needs and behavioral health challenges. So if you're here, you're probably already a mom, a parent, a caregiver, a part of this club, and you've probably already experienced what we all here go through of not having a normal, whatever normal life is. And I'm sure you, like I did, imagined your child or children having this idyllic childhood like you did, or maybe your childhood didn't even resemble that hallmark life and as you had hoped. And there's understandably that sense of loss and grief. And that loss and that grief is something that we here can all relate to. And we're here to listen and hold space with you. Part of my work here at the Rural Institute was conducting research on family peer support. And we discovered that the best support for families and caregivers of children with special health care needs was other caregivers with those same special care needs. We know intimately what you're going through. We have lived it too. We know the struggles and the challenges and the pain of loss. Maybe even better, though, we can celebrate the joys, whether they're minor or major. No matter what you're going through, we can offer maybe resources that have helped us, but maybe even hints on what to avoid. We just get it. We get it. Please reach out to us. We are here to walk alongside you. The other piece of grieving this is to work with a professional therapist, one who is trained and certified in therapy. the caveat that I realize not everybody has that privilege in this country to work with a professional therapist. But if you have the means and the access and the time, please do talk to a certified counselor. They can offer something different than we as professional, as family peer supporters can offer. And an encouragement, if you go and you see a therapist and there's just not that vibe, and I think you know what I'm talking about, that it just something doesn't feel right, or it just doesn't click, or maybe they don't get you, find another one. There are enough out there that we are worth it and worth that time to reach out. Give yourself lots of kindness and grace as you navigate this challenging world, and as we go through these holidays. So as family peer supporters, we're here to help you. We're here to listen. Anything that you are going through, we have maybe been through it, or we know that somebody else that's been through it and can help to help you advocate for your family. And give yourself lots of grace and kindness. That's what I've got for as we open this. And I'll pass it on to the next mama caregiver.
Thank you, Joby. I think next up we have Kayla.
Sorry, wouldn't unmute. Hi guys, I am Kayla Myers. I am a family peer supporter in Billings, Montana. I work at the Children's Clinic. I have a child with autism, and I have my own behavioral health diagnoses, plural. So yeah, so I, following Joby's amazing intro, yeah, I think it's important to prepare yourself and your child for these events that, you know, we all want to participate in, but remembering that, like, these memories that we're creating together with our kids and our families, the duration of the time that we're spending, you know, at people's houses, or it's supposed to be fun and it's not supposed to be stressful. And so I think that creating any kind of memory with your child with special healthcare needs is a win, and keeping them happy and us calm is the ultimate goal for me and my son. The holidays used to look a lot different. He would be excited about, I mean, he's still kind of excited about Halloween, but like Thanksgiving and Christmas, like he'd get excited to open presents. And now he could care less. So, I mean, that was hard at the beginning. And I think that I really tried to not force him, but I was really like, come here, come be involved. And he was just like, yeah, I don't want to. So I'm stressing him out now, because I'm like, no, come here. Like, everyone has presents for you. Just come over here. And yeah, it's just not the way that holidays are spent with Bryce anymore. And so I just had to kind of change the way I was doing it with him. So like prepping to go to a store, like if I don't have to take him to Scheels or to the mall or to wherever, I probably won't, just because it's going to stress both of us out having him there. If I do have to, you know, if there is a reason that I have to take him, I have to prep him. I have to tell him, like, first we're going to go to the store and I have to get 5 presents, and then, you know, and we're going to drive there and we're going to run in, and then afterwards we're going to do something, you know, that he like go to McDonald's and get some chicken nuggets. So like the reward at the end would be he gets to go get the chicken nuggets. So I just constantly, he's nonverbal, so I just constantly am doing those little check-ins with him, like, okay, we're on step 3. Now we're gonna go get in the car next, you know, like the first and the after this. So that's something that's really helped keep both of our stress levels, you know, at bay. And I would say with clothing, so like, of course, we want to dress our kids up in like these really cute holiday outfits and these dresses or, you know, like sweaters or whatever. I think it's important to remember that comfort for them is key. And so if we're dressing them up in these outfits that are already going to just be like annoying to them, it's probably not worth it. So I think just remembering, yeah, to make it as less painful on ourselves and for them. Yeah, you don't need the, I always wanted these like pretty pictures and you know, like come sit by the Christmas tree in your so now we just do a lot of like Christmas pajama pictures instead. So and then I think if you are going to participate in something outside of your house, so a lot of the events that happen with my families at different houses, I once again have to prep Bryce. And I have to remember that he's probably not going to participate. And I have to remind other people in the household that he's probably not going to sit down with us. He's not going to participate. And so creating a safe and quiet area for him is really, really helpful. He will come down and kind of do like, what are you guys doing down here? But I think it's also important to remember that if they do need a moment to just like go away, that's okay. They're still there and they're still listening and they'll yeah, so yeah, I think having like a space where they can go or have a code, like if they are verbal, like a code word or a code gesture, like, hey, I'm getting a little overstimulated, just really doing those check-ins. And yeah, I think the biggest thing is just to remember that for me, something that I've had to remind myself of constantly is that it's not supposed to be stressful. And so giving myself grace that it doesn't have to be this like picture perfect picture or shopping experience or Bryce actually caring about opening his presents. Like it doesn't have to be this picture perfect thing I can post on Instagram or Facebook to show the world, like, look at my happy kids on Christmas. And so giving myself grace and not allowing the guilt and the to kind of take over what that but anyways, just a couple little like things that I had to learn the hard way, of course, many meltdowns, many times that I was just like, oh my god, this is way more work than it is fun. And I just think that if it is way more work than fun, then just change and alter the way that you're doing those things so that it can be fun and you can create those fun memories with your kiddos. So I hope you guys have a good holiday season.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing, Kayla. So I'm up next. I don't think I introduced myself at the beginning. I apologize. My name is Beth Ayers. I am a family peer supporter at the Children's Clinic. I'm also the family peer support lead at Montana's Peer Network. And I have two children. They are about 5 years apart. And my oldest was really what threw us into the behavioral health world. And we really knew nothing about it. You know, frankly, we didn't even know how to parent a child, let alone to parent a child with behavioral health challenges or a child hitting, you know, her tween years. It just, I couldn't figure it out. I couldn't figure out what was going on. But through all of that, her experiences and her challenges really changed how we handled things here at home, how we did holidays. Unlike Kayla, I think I held on to those hopes and dreams for a really long time. And it always seemed to like the holidays were hard I don't know that I realized it at the time, but looking back, a lot of her hospitalizations happened during the holidays or right beforehand. And so the first time that she was hospitalized at the psychiatric unit, it was about 2 weeks before Christmas. And it was a whirlwind of emotions, and I was afraid, and I was hurt, and I was scared, and I was probably frustrated and angry. And I really didn't know who to talk to about it. My child is a very private person, and I am not a private person, so that caused a lot of issues too with us. But she, I think with behavioral health challenges, it just isn't something that you or that, we felt like we could go, tell everybody at church or tell our whole, family. It was something I felt like that it had to be private, which was really hard for me because I really like to process things externally. So I can remember coming home. She went into the hospital. We came home. Our youngest was about 8 at this time. He was second grader. I remember that. And just all the things, having to walk into his school and talk to his teacher, so that, she could maybe help him through, and it's, right for the holidays and everything's hectic. That evening or the following evening, we had this huge, like post-Thanksgiving holiday meal with my husband's family. And so we went, and I was exhausted, and I was tired, and I had been crying all day, and I didn't know these folks very well, and I really didn't feel like I could tell anybody. And I don't like awkward conversations. So then everyone would ask, where's your daughter? Oh, where's your daughter? Why didn't you bring your daughter? And it was just awful. And I remember watching the clock and couldn't wait to go home. And I look back on it and I think I could have not gone. Like, I should have stayed home and taken care of myself. And if my husband wanted to go, he could have gone. But I was just so hung up on doing what I was supposed to do. This, everybody expects us there. We need to be there. And so I think I lived a lot of her childhood just trying to please everybody else. And I don't know that I had a whole lot of fun or enjoyment through things, to be honest with you. So that was kind of a first experience of having to go out there and do the holidays either without her or not in a good, not in a place where I felt like enjoying the holidays. And then about 2 or 3 years later, she had there was a couple hospitalizations in between, but she had her final hospitalization before she went into treatment. And she was in the psychiatric center for about a week at the beginning of December. And then she was placed in treatment in Butte. And we drove her up there on December 15th, right before Christmas, like 9 days before Christmas. And we dropped her off and we came home. And I just did not want to do anything that we normally did. I didn't want to put up a tree. I didn't want to decorate for Christmas. I just wanted it to be as unlike Christmas as possible because she wasn't going to be there with us. And I didn't want to do any of the normal traditions without her. So I think it's really important when you have other children though, too. Our whole lives really revolved around her and her health. And our other child, I think, really got overlooked a lot. And he learned how to take care of his own needs, and how to not rock the boat. And so I remember kind of talking to him about that holiday and how I wanted to do it. And he was brave enough to say that he wanted it to be as close to traditional as possible. He wanted to keep as much of it the same as possible because he already didn't have his sister there. And it was the complete opposite of what I wanted to do. And so we put up a tree. It was our first artificial tree that we'd ever had. My grandma and my folks came over and helped me decorate the house because I just really wasn't into it. And it was hard to do everything without her. But yet I think it was good, and it helped our son too. And then we were able to go up on Christmas and bring in presents to the treatment facility and spend a couple hours with her, which was real good too. I think one thing that was particularly hard for me at that time is that I really wanted to celebrate Christmas like everybody else, and I just couldn't. And I would get these Christmas cards in the mail, and I just didn't know. I didn't know how to do it. And so I picked up a journal and I just started writing, and I just wrote like, I want to participate in Christmas, but I don't know how. My Christmas doesn't look like it's supposed to. It doesn't look like I want it to. And yet for us as, my family is very involved in church and our faith. So yet it's supposed to be this like, really happy time, joyous time. And it's also in our faith a time where even if things aren't great, that's what holds you through it, is that, faith. And so I didn't feel right just letting Christmas go by. But at the same time, I mean, what do you put in a Christmas card? Like, hey, the three of us left at the house, wish you a happy Christmas. So I wrote from my journal a little Christmas card, and I sent it out to just very few people, my close friends and my close family. And I was just really honest with them. And I said, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to do this, and talked about my faith, talked about the hurt, and just kind of left it at that. And really kind of poured myself out in it. And it was really healing. It really helped. And yeah, I think that was is probably one of the first times that I had to accept something that I couldn't change and walk through that. In fact, I can remember talking to a mentor when our daughter was in the hospital waiting for a bed. And I said, well, maybe we'll just bring her home, and then after Christmas, we'll take her up to treatment. My mentor was like, no, like this is her health and this is serious. And yes, it's hard, but we have to do hard things. And so thankfully, we were able to follow along with that. But there was a lot of expectations from my extended family that they did not like the fact that she went into treatment right before Christmas. They didn't like the fact that she went into treatment, period. And so just a lot of making those hard choices for her, and really having to look at it as her health, her overall physical health, and not something that, oh, we could bring her home and we'll just forget about it for, a bit. And so that was our holiday experience. Since that time, holidays are very hit or miss with our family. Our child is now an adult and yet still has a lot of the challenges that she had. And so social relationships for her are hard. And so sometimes she's talking to us and we have a great Christmas, and sometimes she's not talking to us and we don't get to see her for Christmas. And I think through all of this, what I have learned is that to enjoy the moments I have and to be very thankful for them, because it's not always going to be like that. So I kind of take what I can get, and I enjoy all those times that I do have with her. And the times where she's choosing not to, then I get to, look around and really find things that I am grateful for in life also. And just understand that it's not perfect and there's just never going to be a perfect holiday. And everyone in our home, every holiday in our home is just a little bit different depending on where everybody's at. So, that is my story. I will send it over to Andy to share with us.
My name is Andy Daniel. I am the technology coordinator for Montana's Peer Network. I have 3 kids who all have behavioral health challenges. My oldest is 25 and lives in California right now. My middle one is 23 and lives in North Dakota. And then my youngest is 18 and sometimes he lives at my house and sometimes he lives in an apartment. It's still a back and forth kind of thing right now. But what I'm going to talk about is more about my personal struggles with the holidays. It's not really focused on my kids and how their struggles affected things, because my issues are my issues more than their issues. So growing up, we always had the same traditions. We would spend Christmas Eve with my dad's family and Christmas Day with my mom's family. Now my dad worked on the railroad. I'm up here on the High Line. He wasn't always home for holidays, and so things got adjusted, like family dinners and stuff like that. But Christmas Day, we were always at my mom's parents' house. It was never big. It was always just a few of us. My parents don't have big families. They only each have one sibling and they don't live here. So things were never like huge, but some of the things that Beth talked about also happened for me, like the expectations. Now, most of the expectations, I'm sure I put on myself, but I have perfectionism and anxiety from as long as I can remember. And so I had this vision of what holidays were supposed to look like. And when things started not working that way, it really threw me for a loop. So the first thing that happened that messed that up was my parents got divorced. Now I was in college when my parents got divorced, but my dad got a girlfriend. And so then we had to adjust our holidays based on her traditions. And so we couldn't do the Christmas Eve at my dad's and Christmas Day at my mom's. And so even though I was an adult at the time, I think understanding that is helpful for people who have kids and, you know, parents get divorced, right? Things change, especially if you get a new partner or something like that, then you have to work this extra person into that, and it doesn't always work very well. And I resented that immensely, that this person had messed up my whole holiday schedule. And I'm not sure that ever got resolved before my dad passed away. But it's hard for me to shift away from traditions and expectations, which is part of my diagnoses and my family of origin, the issues there. So I always thought that Christmases were wonderful when I was a kid. My grandma always got all of the food on the table at the same time, and everybody got along, and all the presents were wrapped, and it was all this wonderful thing. And I realize now that that probably was not accurate. That the things that I saw as a kid were not necessarily what the adults saw. And so, but it's only been the last couple of years that I realized that. So I was trying with my kids, I was trying to make those traditions happen. I was trying to cook. I was trying to get everything taken care of. and all of those things. And it never seemed to work out. And then it would throw me for a loop. And in addition to my own expectations of me, I hate Christmas trees because I have cats. And it is just too much trouble to have a Christmas tree and cats. And so we would do some other little things, but I worked at Head Start at the time, and I would say, no, we don't have a Christmas tree. And people would just like freak out. What do you mean you don't have a Christmas tree? What are your kids going to do if you don't have a Christmas tree? I'm like, they just don't have a Christmas tree. I don't know what your problem is. They like would give me little Christmas tree figurines and stuff. I don't, it's fine. My kids are fine. The next big change happened when I got divorced. And then, you know, you have to share the kids, and we had a parenting plan and who was supposed to be where when, but that didn't always work out. And now we've got, I didn't have another partner, but my ex-husband did. So now, you know, you've got that mixed in with it too. Those two changes were not happening at the same time. My dad passed away before I got divorced. I can't imagine adding that other layer onto it. That would have just, I would have started hiding in my bedroom. So the last few years for me have been actually really low key and really nice. But the problem for me is accepting that that's okay, that other people's expectations do not have to be mine. So my two older children don't always come home. Last year, my middle one was home for a day, but her boyfriend lives in, or is from Missoula. They were going over there, right? My oldest one didn't come home at all. My mom doesn't come back. My mom lives in Livingston. She doesn't come back very often anymore. She always checks with me. She always says, is it okay? Because my brother has small children and he lives in California and he enjoys the holidays. And so my mom goes to California and she always says, is it okay? And I'm like, yeah, please go. I don't want to have to host anybody. I don't have to worry about anything. But when I tell people that, I get this like, oh, how sad for you. I'm like, no, nope, not sad for me at all. I'm fine. I get a few days off. I get to chill. If my kids come home, they come home. We'll do things like the last time they were home, we got sushi. I did not cook. I didn't do anything. So I guess the takeaway from this is it's okay to change. And it's okay not to like the holidays. You don't have to do what everybody else does. And I've tried to stop explaining myself to people. I don't like Christmas. It's just the way it is. What that does open up for me, I am part of a theater group up here. And what that does open up for me actually is to be able to do the Christmas shows, to be able to act in the Christmas shows, because I don't have a bunch of expectations. I don't have things that I have to get done. And so I have a lot more free time. And although I hate Christmas, I hate the holidays, I like being a part of that because I get to help other people enjoy the holidays in a way that I'm comfortable with, as opposed to trying to make Christmas what I had when I was a kid.
Thank you, Andy. Thanks for sharing. And now we have Erin.
Hello. Sorry, it's been a crazy morning, so I am mixing meds and will talk at the same time. So I'm just gonna talk about what life looks like for the holidays, I guess, with a kiddo with a lot of extra medical equipment. And I don't feel super prepared for this because it's just been a crazy day, and that just kind of describes our whole lives, right? Like, we're just humans. So when Jackson was little, our first holidays, like our first Halloween, he didn't have a diagnosis yet. We didn't know what he had going on. Oh, and I'm Erin Hawk. I live over in Kalispell. And I have a 9-year-old now, and he's got, it's called infantile Pompe disease. So it's a rare genetic disorder. So he was diagnosed at 6 months old, which is very late for his disease. And that caused a lot of extra issues in itself. So he is wheelchair bound. He was on a feeding tube, like for 100% of his nutrition, from 6 months old until he's just 2 years ago. So we've been working super hard with feeding therapy. So navigating holidays for us was like this chaotic dropping stuff. This chaotic time where your family has had their traditions, you know, forever and ever, and here you are as a new mom with all these extra things that you haven't even figured out how to navigate, and they still want to keep all their traditions. So I was in that same scenario where I felt like I needed to live up to this bar of family tradition and be there for the holidays and be there for my family. And it took a long time to kind of get over that thought process. But I remember when Jackson learned how to scoot, because he can't walk. So he scooted on his butt for a really long time. And we would go to my grandma's house, and she's got 2 dogs that are very, like, uncontrolled. And I've got a kid scooting on the floor with a feeding tube that he can get ripped out of his stomach. And so she would never put her dogs away. Like, she would not like kennel them up or anything like that. So we've got all these things to navigate. You've got a wheelchair. We had his feeding tube. We had a kid that would wear out super fast, but everybody expected him to open all the presents. And so it was a lot. And honestly, I came to really hate holidays myself in my own personal world. And it became too overwhelming and too much of a, let me take, 3 hours to get ready and load my car to come have you try to rush us through this holiday and keep the joy, and then have to leave early because he has all these medical needs that we have to also follow through with and get him home for bedtime and keep him healthy, which is hard in the first place. So there's the extra time to get ready for us. We have, even now, Jackson's morning routine takes an hour and a half, and we have a lot of medical appointments to schedule, and even doctors are like, you can't get here at 8. And I'm like, no, I can't. Like, that's insane. It takes me an hour and a half. You want me to get up at 5? I am not a morning person. Like, no, I'm not doing it. I will not schedule before 10 a.m. So I kind of, it took me, I don't even know, it might have been right before COVID stuff that I finally hit a wall and was like, you know what? I just want to stay home. I just want to be in my space. I want to have our accessibility, our bathroom that Jackson's used to, our routine with eating with him or without him. If, at that time, there was also guilt of like eating in front of somebody that couldn't put food in their mouth. Like, you've got that going on too. And so I finally just said, we're going to stay home for Christmas. And I remember, like, my mom was like, oh, okay. And my husband's mom was very angry. And then I was that woman that was taking her son away, and like even more so than just marrying him. And so So then you have to deal with like the disappointment, like the very open disappointment and anger from people, and it makes you feel bad. But I've come to a place where I have given myself permission to let them feel like I failed them, because it's not my job to make their holiday joyous. It's my job to protect my child and his health and give him a good holiday and a good space to feel like he can enjoy that. And it's my family, like all of that extended family. I came to a place where I had to tell myself they've had their traditions and this is my family. This is what we're doing. And for us, every holiday does look different, because we've had holidays where Jackson's like super sick and can't get out of bed. So we don't celebrate Christmas until like March. And there's, like, so you change things, and it's like this tidal wave of just kind of going with the flow. Because I found that when I would push things and try to force it to happen, he would get really sick, or we would end up, in an emergency situation where his tube got pulled out, or just chaos like that, and it's not worth it. And so the years that I've been home, this is Jackson. So the years that we've stayed home have been the best. And if people really want to see us, I'm like, yeah, Jackson's going to be awake from this time to this time. So by all means, stop by. If you want to stop by, great. I'll have snacks out all day for us, so you can eat whatever. But it's not like this big, huge thing. And that's been okay for me. Like, that's been the best move for me, to stand up for myself and for his needs, and just say, you know what, this is our family, and it's okay that we're doing this differently, and you might not like it, but that's how we're doing it. We also have a split family scenario. So in the past few years, there's been years that I haven't had Jackson at home for holidays, and that's really weird too. But then we do take that time to go be with my husband's mom, because the day of is way more important to her than it is to my family. And so I think it's just important to remember that this is your holiday, and however that needs to look is totally okay. And maybe you schedule people like you would appointments, and you're like, okay, we'll see you on Thursday, and we'll see you in January, and so it's just one of those things where we have kind of found what works for us. And there's a lot less anxiety for myself, because I deal with my own things, and a lot less work, a lot less carrying of the wheelchair, and now a almost 70-pound child, whereas before he was like 20 pounds. So it's very helpful to just be like, yeah, we're okay if you're mad at us, but we're going to be at home, or we'll come on this day, and that's just how it's going to work. And it's been a lot more enjoyable. I still hate it, but I'm working on it.
Thank you, Erin.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody, for sharing. And it just, again, goes back to the fact that from the outside looking in, I think other families have it perfect and, nothing going on. But really, when we get to talking and we get to sharing, that we're all just humans, raising other humans, and doing the best that we can. So thank you for sharing. I want to open it up, see if anybody else has any thoughts or ideas, kind of what has helped them through the holidays, or if they just want to share what's happening.
I'll just say I relate to Kayla a lot, and I have a son with autism as well, and he's 8 years old, and his name is Jonathan. And our family rallies around him. We're a family of 7, to make sure he has what he needs, and, and that he's okay. During the holidays, during Christmas break, we always have a blowout. Last year, and it's like he'll have a week-long meltdown because his whole routine is gone, and it just, it's just out of whack. I remember I had a workshop somewhere last year, and it was right during the break, and we were staying at a motel, and we had to just pack up in the middle of the night and come home. But I mean, like what Erin was saying, it's all about our children and what keeps them comfortable and what's okay for them. It's not about everybody else. And a lot of times a lot of times, almost all the time, nobody understands. You don't have nobody to talk to. I'm also a facilitator for Circle of Parents. So we have a autism moms group here on the reservation, on the Crow Reservation here in Lodge Grass, Montana. So we all stay in contact. In the beginning of his diagnosis, it was really crazy, and I didn't know nothing about autism. So it was hard for all of us, more for him, but we've come through a lot, and got to a place where we're comfortable just keeping him taken care of, and we take care of all the other kids. I have 2 that just went off to college, so 2 are gone from the house. That's a change for him. Any little change, kind of you see it. But he's in school and has a great routine and has a great one-on-one that's with him all the time. And I reach out to all my resources that I can hold on to. STEP program. We go to therapy once a week in Billings. We travel 80 miles up and back just for that day, because it's important for him. And so, yeah, just keeping our babies safe and in good spirits, and just taking care of them the best we can is all we can do. We can only do the best we can.
Thanks,
That's all.
Misty, for sharing.
That is a really good point as well. I didn't even really put that together with it being a break from their normal routine. Yeah, that's a huge, I always know it when we're in it, but I forget about it until I'm in that break. I'm like, oh yeah, your routine is complete. Even by Sunday, even just Saturday, Sunday, by Sunday, I'm like, okay, you need to go back to school and be in a different routine. But yeah, there's a lot of patience, a lot of grace.
I know for me, I feel like I relate a lot to what Andy had to say. I have my own stuff that can make that does make holidays challenging for me. I love the holidays, or I really want to love the holidays. And today, I'm like, Christmas starts today. It's the day after Halloween. We normally decorate the first weekend after Halloween, although we're going to wait this year because we've got a cat and we have a trip planned for the middle of November. So we're going to wait until after that to set up the tree, because otherwise I have a feeling the cat will destroy the tree while I'm gone. But I have anxiety and depression, and there's just a lot that goes on with the holidays. I normally crack jokes. It's time for me to put on my fancy Christmas anxiety, not to be confused with my regular anxiety. And there's a lot of, pressure to get everybody the right gift and all of that. And I have kind of financial anxiety as one of my big triggers. And so it's even if we can afford it, there's still that piece of me that is every dollar that I spend, I'm just we're never going to financially recover from this, which is not true, but that's just where my mind goes. And then, a few years ago, my grandma passed, and my grandma on my mom's side, and she was really the matriarch of the family. And we went every year, either for dinner or Christmas morning, and maybe not for a long period of time, but that's where the family got together. And you know, her being gone, you know, that's hard. And so there's grief now associated with that. Before Thanksgiving, my mom attempted suicide, and I'm the one that found her. And so I spent Thanksgiving last year, most of the day in the ICU, um, you know, hoping and praying that my mom was going to pull out of it. And she did. But I didn't know she was going to. And then I went home and everybody was at my house doing Thanksgiving dinner. And I just like went into my bedroom and just started bawling. You know, it was like I couldn't even handle the familyness, you know. And so I have a feeling this year is going to be hard too. Like, yes, she's alive, but that was a super traumatic situation for me. And so, yeah, so I have my own stuff that affects me during the holidays. And I'm really grateful that I have a wife and kiddos that don't make me feel any worse than I already feel for my own stuff that affects the holidays. Like they're super loving and they're super understanding, and I'm grateful for that because I have my own guilt and they don't make that any worse. And so yeah, holidays can be really hard.
For sharing, Mandy. We have a few more minutes.
Oh, sorry. I was
Oh, go
gonna
ahead.
add that, like, that's true. You have your own stuff. Everybody has their own stuff to deal with, right? But like, so my tradition, I would always go to my grandma's house every year on my dad's side because my parents divorced and now me and Jackson's dad are divorced. But I would go to my grandma's house and their for Christmas Eve, and their family likes to like kiss on the mouth. And I was never part of that because my mom raised me different than that, and they always hated it. And then with Jackson and his need for like being immune compromised, I was even more petrified of like going to their house. So I would only go if I didn't have him, and it worked out well because I think he always ended up at his dad's, and then there was one year where he didn't and I had him, and they were so mad at me. They were so mad that I said I wasn't coming because I had Jackson, and I had done 2 family events with them where they had lied and said everybody was healthy, and 2 of the kids had influenza, and we ended up in the hospital both times. And I was like, I can't trust you people. And now I don't see any of them because they said I chose my other side of my family over them. And I don't know, there you get a lot of anger and depression and anxiety and everything, and some of it's your own and some of it's caused by conflict, and that can make it all even more difficult. And it's really hard to let go. But I can tell you just from my own experience of finally being like, you know, that's fine. If you want to feel like I chose somebody else over you and you don't want to speak to me, then it's fine. Like I have all these other people that love me and we do our own thing, and our holiday is okay without you. If you can get yourself to that point, you will be free of so many things. And I hope that for everybody that has that kind of fear and guilt and anger, that you can get to that point because it is very freeing.
Sharon. Thank you, everybody, for being here. I hope this was helpful. I hope we can all put some self-care into our holidays. I know for myself, I'm just going to do my best to enjoy what comes and to be fully present in it and not trying to arrange it all to look a certain way. So, yeah, hope everybody has good holidays. We will see you next month, though, for Family First Wednesdays, the first Wednesday of every month. Thanks, guys. Have a good day.